guys, this is Ryan with the Native Oklahoma Bigfoot Research Organization. This is a great example of how public outreach really makes a difference. Our group did a library presentation a couple weeks ago at the Southern Oaks Library in Oklahoma City, and we got to talk to a lot of eyewitnesses and people that are interested in the topic of Bigfoot. Anyway, this led to a lead where one of our investigators, Tom Crabtree, got in contact with Rhonda right here, and she's invited us out. She's been a very good host, and she's letting us come out here, and she's gonna let us walk around the property and tell us what's been going on here at her location. Okay, so we are in Pottawatomie County right now. We're not gonna say any more than that about details of the location, but that's where we're at, and she's going to share today what's been going on her property.
And I wanted to know more of what I was experiencing, if it was typical of these creatures.
Right.
I wanted to learn more of their
personalities, nature.
Nature, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you see all these shows and you hear all these stories and you hear how some are very aggressive and mean, and then you hear some that are very nice and sweet.
Right.
And all I knew is that I'm trying to rescue dogs out here that get dumped to save them and try to get them in before they meet their demise. And on the same time, I wanted to also protect those creatures.
Sure.
I don't want them
Yeah.
to do any harm. So,
But you're
sorry.
kind of worried about your own personal safety at times. But like you said, your animals, when you had what, 3 of them come up missing?
Yeah, there were 4 dogs that were dumped out here, and I set up dog houses, and I go out and I feed them,
Yeah.
hoping they don't form a pack and become a danger, and people have to shoot them. And I seen footprints over where I was feeding them at, and then 3 came up missing.
Oh wow. So they're right behind the house, or
They
were they
tr-
just they were outside? Outside dogs?
These dogs
Yeah.
that were dumped,
Yeah.
they were scattered down the highway, across the highway,
Oh, okay.
up some side streets.
Okay.
She was on my property up a side street.
So you were just feeding them
I tried.
and they were, was they around your property? Was they across the road like you said over there by the
The
lake?
dogs or Bigfoot?
No, the dogs.
The dogs
that come
were,
up missing.
they were down the road, down the highway.
Oh,
They weren't
okay.
around my property. I just happened to see them when I come by, and
Okay. But that was the only one that was able
yeah,
to
Josie's
rescue.
the one that survived.
Huh. But yeah, you're definitely concerned about, like you said, these screams, these things beating on your house.
Oh, holy cow, monkey. This sucker did an awful noise and whooped at me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it whipped at me, and I'm like, nope, 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 and came back
Yeah.
inside. That was it.
So was this during the day, at night?
It was during the day.
Yeah.
It was during the day. Well, I say it's more like dusk that it whipped at me. I didn't see it.
Right.
My son
Wow.
said the tree was shaking violently back there.
Really?
I mean, I was taking the dogs to do their duty
All right.
to bring back in, and that thing whooped at me, and I'm like,
Is this when you were telling me a lot of your action was happening, what, in January, February?
January and February, even up to this month, I found some tracks out there that I
Right.
sent to you because I was,
Yeah,
debatable. I hadn't heard anything for quite some time, but
right.
January,
I didn't know you had any vocals.
yeah,
That's pretty wild.
yeah, and
Yeah.
there's so many. We have cougars out here, we have black bear, wolves, coyotes. So I mean, you hear a vast array. But
Right.
this was unlike anything that I had heard before.
So tell us about the time, the night that you said there was a lightning strike and
Well, it sounded like there was a lightning strike,
right,
but the news didn't call for any bad weather,
right,
so it caught me off guard,
yeah,
and I didn't. It just caught me off guard. That was about midnight, 11 o'clock-ish, something like that.
right,
And when that happened, it sounded like there was lightning right next to me. It was that loud of a clap, and then it sounded like thunder.
Did it sound like your house was shaking, or feel
Well,
like it was shaking, or anything like
Not
that?
at that very moment, no. That was the first thing that happened that caught me off guard, and then something slapped the house on this side, slapped it hard, and then it started shaking.
Shaking the whole house.
Yeah, it shook, it rattled the whole house. Yeah, that was my, not my first knowledge of them being out here. My mother seen it about 10:30 at night, crossing the back of her house through the pasture line.
And how far away from here is that?
It's just up the road, less than quarter mile. I mean,
Is she on your property?
this is all family land out here, so yeah, we share it. We share it. The pastures are connecting.
And when was this? What time or when? What
It
date
was-
was?
It was in January sometime.
Okay.
I don't remember the
So
exact
this-
date, but she said that thing had massive, massive arms and hung down below the knees. And it had a little tuft, and she said it stood about 9 feet tall, 8 foot 9 feet tall.
Wow.
And the moon was very bright that night, so she was seeing it very clearly.
Do you remember what color she said, or
It was
it's hard to tell?
it was hard to tell.
Yeah.
In the moonlight.
Did she say like what direction it was going, like towards your house, or?
No, it was coming away from my house, and I'm
Oh.
not sure that made me feel any better or not. But there's some woods on the side of her property that goes into somebody else's property, and that's the direction it was going to.
Okay.
There are some meadows behind my natural tree line, water line, and I take my dogs for walks and check the fence line, and I was finding a bunch of bones, more than I typically would. And I took it down, but there was a skull hanging up in the tree, a point-back skull, and I've just not seen that before. Mom told me about her incident, and my cousin and sister went looking for footprints in the direction it was going, couldn't find any, and I said, well, did you check back there where it's all dirt, when it crosses over to the second pasture? That's where I found that one footprint.
Oh wow.
And that's when I was very leery, because I'm out midnight walking my dogs. Don't do that anymore. And then it was a week or two after that, my experience started happening. And when it snowed, up next to my windows were 3 different sizes of footprints. I showed that to you too.
Right.
All the videos. I didn't realize they were that close.
Coming up right next to the.
Yes, and they're traveling from the west heading to the east, going around the house, and I guess into the pasture line, I don't know.
Right.
But it's not uncommon for me to come across things in the backyard, and that night that my house was slapped and rattled, and that horrible scream, something was killed. The next morning I'm out there and I find a pelt of a squirrel, nothing but just the pelt, and I feed my squirrels up here, so I'm not too happy about that, but I wanted to learn what to do and what not to do. But
So you mentioned that something's been pulling your skirting.
oh my God, yeah, we had straight line winds, and when they come, they usually go in and then out that way, right?
Right.
But this is in the back, something punched a hole in my skirting, and I don't know.
Yeah, you said it looks like it's like something was trying to get underneath it, maybe.
It did, and I don't know if it was reaching for a critter that went underneath there or not.
Possible.
You have all these rescue animals here. Can you talk about maybe how do you notice like a change in their behavior or anything, or do they act different?
That night that something hit my house, my cats like to sleep in the cat towers next to the windows. They all went to the back, and they wouldn't go to the windows for a few days. So I scooped the cat towers out of range, but I thought if something broke in, so they'd still be safe. The dogs did not want to go outside. And at certain times, my other dog would be at that window barking, and of course I look outside, break-ins are not uncommon out here. But this time he was on the couch out this window, and that's typically very unusual for him. Again, when I look out, I don't see anything. I just see what's left afterwards in the morning time. But no, they were very jittery for about 3 or 4 days. But after that, they kind of calmed down. The only one that alerts me to anything is my guard dog over there. And he just, I don't know if they're coming accustomed to it now or not, or what, but yeah, that was my concern about these animals. I mean, they become prey too quickly to predators out there.
So how are you doing? Like, how's your mood, or Are you getting more used to it? Or are you still kind of flipped out?
I'm not flipped out per se, I'm just more of aware. This thing is huge. I showed a picture when I was checking the fence line. My dog was frolicking around and then he stopped, wouldn't even flinch. And he was deadlocked on this certain area, and I was hearing some rustling, so I just started recording that area, kind of scanning back and forth and up and down. The sun was in my eyes, so I didn't see what I was actually recording. So I looked through it, and I seen it, and I took my dog by the collar, because he wouldn't come. He would not move. And I took him by the collar, and we just walked backwards. I didn't turn my back on the creature, I just walked backwards, but I never felt threatened. And I still don't feel threatened. That they've not been violent, they're just out there trying to survive.
Or feeding on animals around the neighborhood, possibly.
That are being dumped.
Yeah.
Well, very cautiously, very, however you want to call it, I started talking to local people around here that had livestock, asking, has anything come up missing? Do you see anything weird out there? And nothing's come up missing. No livestock has come up missing. People with pets, you see all the time that the cat's gone, the dog's gone on Facebook. But locally here, no one has said anything's coming up missing. So, but there's a lot of deer that I had crossing, coyotes I had crossing, had two cougars out there crossing. My first deer that I seen was last night.
It's been a while since you've seen
Oh
some.
my gosh, yes, and I was very, very leery about going out after dark with these dogs, but they had to do their business, and I keep my flashlight that shoots off far in the distance, and I seen the deer, and I thought, okay, if that's there, we're fine, we're fine. But what I found curious is that the coyotes don't cross over here anymore. I haven't seen the cougars, and there's less and less deer. That's the first deer I've seen since January.
Oh, wow. Didn't you say you found some deer bones and
Right, going along
skull
with that
and-
skull.
yeah.
Yeah, it was. I have a pond out here, and there's a natural spring that feeds it. Now on the side behind that, they're like little small meadows that perfect for hunting. You can hide, and little creature come by, and you can snatch it up. They wouldn't even know what hit them. And I'm afraid that's what was going on.
oh wow, yeah.
Um,
But you just starting to see some weird things, like you said. You
well,
normally
yeah,
don't
okay.
see.
So across the highway, down where the dog is,
Right.
there is a bunch of dead trees, if you will. I mean, fallen tree limbs is totally expected to see, but what I seen was positioned tree limbs crossed over, and it kind of, if you will, like a hand going down is how it's formed, and there's a bunch of leaves in here. It's like a bed.
Oh wow. Okay, so the structures you sent me on camera, is that the ones across the highway, or is that in your woods here?
It's across this road
Oh.
in my backside of my uncle's land.
Okay.
So it's still family land, but
Cool.
yeah, I have a doghouse that was set up over there. And then I find these little structures that are not man-built, that are not nature-built. They're just odd. I don't know if it's like little markers, but you know how you could pile sticks, rocks upon each other?
Yeah.
This kind of looked like it was formed a teepee with rounded tree limbs, or branch, twigs
Right. I've seen that.
on top of each other.
Yeah.
And to me, that was very odd. There's a couple over there, and then that structure to where it looks like something was bedding down,
Sure.
which scared me even more because I built a shelter for her over there
Yeah.
to get her out of the elements.
Okay. So
And
can you take us over there later?
I could take you anywhere you want to go.
Okay.
If you want to go tromping through the other woods with other ponds and see if
Yeah.
you find something, you guys are more than welcome to do that with me. So I can't keep up with it all, but I try to do what I can and find the animals home. This Josie, I was working on her since last year, about September, trying to get close to her. And January is after Mom's incident, I became more aware of it, so I started kind of keeping an eye out things. So where the dog houses were, I always put fresh water out in the morning and evenings, fresh food out mornings and evenings. And I started seeing footprints that were not mine or the dogs, and I mean, they were, 8.5 shoe size, and these were at least 4 inches longer than my foot. So, yeah, I really wanted to get her in.
So she's taking us to the spot where she took a photograph.
That tree right there, that cedar, and this little dead thing up there is one. Gotcha. It was right there. And it matched up with this fence post and this here. And you see where the green, that's where his face was. Like I said, I didn't know. I just heard rustling in the leaves. And when I looked at my phone real quick over there, that's when I got my dog and we just walked slowly backwards. It didn't say anything, it didn't move, it just watched us.
Wow. Okay.
But if you go on Google Map, you can look over here. There's a lot of wooded, but there's a lot of wide open space.
Mm.
So this is the spot where Rhonda's mother saw one just on this side of the fence post, walking this direction.